Sentenced to be a Hero pulled up from out of nowhere and shook the anime community with its first episode. And I get it. An hour-long premiere filled with the fluid animation of the team that worked on Mushoku Tensei's first season? I was hyped up too. So I hit up the show to see what the fuss was about, and I didn't like it. Worse, I tuned out and fantasized about playing Genshin Impact again instead.
The blind people can't play TF2 with you? No!
I got really bored watching, and then the main dude started clicking his tongue at me, and I got annoyed. I wanted to give him the sandy cheeks treatment. All that is to say, I came into this video fully intending to shit on every aspect of the show, but when I watched it back to do just that, my script changed because I pressed a macro on my Mac. I watched it back, and what I got was, it's complicated. In quotes. Here's the thing. On one hand, the story is a lot more comprehensible than I initially gave it credit for. But on the other, this doesn't stop it from being basic and boring as hell. If that's all you're here for, go on, sweet child. Enjoy your 7 out of 10 experience. Otherwise, let's get into what makes this show so goddamn annoying. Heroes in this world are not heroes in the way we tend to think of them. They're criminals, thieves, assassins, and terrorists, and they're all sentenced to fight on the front lines as war slaves for as long as they live. If you abandon the mission, you die. If you fail, you die, and then you respawn to do it all over again. Every hero's death chips away at their memories, their sense of self, until eventually they lose all sense of who they used to be. This is the sentence of society's scum, one where civilians, children, even the military force you've been tasked with saving can't help but look upon you with disgust and contempt. Hearing all this, you might have reached the same questions or conclusions that I did when I was first watching. What do we call war guys now? You know, the military personnel recognized for acts of extreme bravery, self-sacrifice, and valor? What about guitar guys? Like, is playing Guitar Hero now shredding with nefarious intent? Or is it more like being a drummer boy? The answer is that none of this matters. You might be wondering how the main guy ended up becoming a hero. There's tension in knowing you're following someone so dangerous, so off-kilter, that the only thing inhibiting their worst impulses is the fear of endless death and revival. Luckily, as if sensing this, the show rushes to your side and goes, shh, don't worry, the main guy is good. He's good. He saves a fellow hero. He saves the Holy Knights. A goddess awakens and latches on to his righteousness, and he slays a demon lord. All in the first episode, all before you know what he did wrong. Also, you know that without a shadow of a doubt, this man is cool and based. This is why I'm calling him John the Good Guy now. Because he's good. Good guy. John Good Guy used to be a holy knight, but you learn that in his past he got sentenced to be a hero for the capital C crime of ignoring orders, getting his squad killed, and killing the last goddess he made a pact with. That's a pretty bad resume in its own right. It sure would suck if, oh my god, it was a setup the whole time. For reasons unexplained, the temple, the higher-ups ordering around the Holy Knights, they'd sent John Good Guy's unit to die, and they were now covering it up by forcing him to take the fall. The death of his unit, being forced to kill a goddess, at least 50% of that was a planned setup. There was gambling involved. In their final stand, John Good Guy's goddess ran through every last bit of power, and the demon blight, that's like organic demon COVID or something, was finally beginning to take hold. Yet, she smiled. They both knew how this had to end. If John Good Guy didn't kill her right here and right now, she'd be British. I get it. She needed the mercy kill. This on its own isn't inherently like a bad thing or whatever. I've watched Shield Hero. I can enjoy a revenge fantasy plotline. My problem is that the premise feels weirdly optional. Everything this show sets up is seemingly for flavor text. The story is the revenge plot, you know, when John Good Guy says this at the end of the first episode.
You are hereby sentenced to serve as a hero. I will kill you!
Well, that no longer exists 8 episodes in. Why? Why are society scum just good guys? Why are they the only competent characters in this story? Why are the Holy Knights who are frontlining this war against the demons so bad against the demons? John Good Guy can solo them. He carved some magical seals into himself or whatever. Did nobody else think to do that? These questions drag on and on and on, and when you finally find the answer, well, there are also reasons for that. No. I waited all fucking season for this answer. You give it to me right now. And I think that's where this show throws me off the most. It sets up so many questions, so many expectations. The world's most dangerous criminals sentenced to immortal war slavery. What's up with that? And then you finally watch it and go, guards. Why was he allowed to do that? If these guys are the scummiest, most dangerous criminals around, Watch them. Shackles, consequences, anything. Why are these people just wandering around freely? Then the show does something I really hate. Hey, he didn't cut that guy's fucking hand off because he's a psychopath. That was a scammer's hand. He was dishonest. Am I supposed to look at that and go, oh, my mistake? I thought you mutilated an innocent for a second. Please, carry on. No? I would argue that maybe we shouldn't let the demented criminal go gambling around town, but the show will do anything to ensure that you know that their hearts are in the right place. They aren't just criminals, they have noble qualities about them. Look, and I think the most egregious examples of this are the court trials that get them sentenced in the first place. There is a thief character in the show, right? He is known for thieving around. So how do you imagine the thief is getting tried in court? We are talking... How many did they say exactly?
Over 1,000 criminal acts on your record.
Over 1,000 criminal acts on record. This man is dead to rights. All they have to do is not fuck it up.
On your record. Yet you've been brought before us today to answer for just one of them.
That little boy asked me to save his life. I'm not lying. He told me he'd been locked up in the castle, that he needed to escape, so I swiped the dragon to help him break free.
Wait. Shrek? Give me one reason this needed to be an unfair trial. It didn't. The dude is a kleptomaniac. He graduated from the Marie School of Spoon Snatching. Could a thief maybe just be tried because he stole a lot of shit? Did we need to drill a random spark of nobility into them? Yes, we did, because if he were too much of a criminal, the temple might appear reasonable. We need to know without a shadow of a doubt that these people were sentenced unfairly because the church is irredeemably corrupt. But now you have a new problem on your hands. You are officially playing both sides. On one hand, look how dangerous and unhinged these criminals are. But on the other, no, wait, they're good, their motives are noble. On paper, depth. But in practice, it feels like an excuse to selectively dodge consequences whenever the plot needs me to like someone. The criminals don't get meaningfully punished for criming around. At best you get these little one-offs to show, oh, they're kind of hiding, I guess. But the rest of the time, nobody seems to care. This story is just not serious. The sentencing doesn't matter, the church is hilariously corrupt, and the characters are unbelievably boring. Every character in this show is the most one-note motherfucker ever. The goddess is a child that is desperate for praise. The holy knight's Captain Kivia is a tsundere. The thief is a thief. The liar is a liar. This goes on. There is zero friction in or around any of the characters at any given moment. You don't expect Kivia to slowly come around because every time she scolds John Good Guy, she goes, I hate you, criminal scum. But these things just happen. She was just going to change before you can react or predict it. However, the goddess is a completely different kind of stupid. The goddess's devotion to John Good Guy is unreal. She comes out of the casket clinging to this guy and begging for praise. Oh, the guy she just met and eternally pacted herself to has killed the last goddess he formed a pact with? Would be a shame if she cared. Let's compare this to The Last of Us Part 1 with Ellie and Joel. Neither of these characters liked each other off rip. Joel wanted to drop her off and go home, and Ellie was put off by how grumpy and callous he came across. It's through exhaustive journey and constantly rubbing up against boundaries that she warms up to him and eventually breaks him out of his shell. Now, imagine if upon meeting Joel, Ellie instead jumped into his arms and went, "Oh my god! My new dad!" Now, hold on a second. You know he had a daughter before, right? Like he shot his last kid in the face. Really? That's what you're going with? That's pretty immature. Don't care. Can you still tell me she has self-preservation instincts? No. I know I've been talking a lot of shit about this show, but believe it or not, I don't think this is the worst show in the world. The story is serviceable, and the characters... But this is very much an adapt or die anime, and I mean that for you, the viewer. I failed miserably at this my first time around. At some point, my brain just jumped out of my skull and walked away. It refused to consume any more of this show. Suddenly, the show became infinitely more fun. Now I was meeting the show where it's at. Now I was watching the goddess mascot around like a little twerp, and I thought she was adorable. Watching Captain Kivia slowly realize that this John Good Guy maybe isn't such a soul bad guy kind of guy was also cute. The most fun I've had watching this show is pretending it is all animated tower defense gameplay. This show goes hard as fuck on the preparations, negotiations, who goes where, all that shit. Usually how it goes is some church dude pulls up to say, "All of you, go kill yourselves in battle." But John Good Guy goes, I don't really want to die. So they set shit up, positioning the heroes, stocking up barbarians, babysitting holy knights. This is how you win battles. I started keeping these little mental notes about the different entrances and exits and units, going, Who's watching the East Gate? That is the most invested I've been watching this show. The animation is that smooth, the action is that enjoyable to watch, and as a tower defense, it weirdly is that consistent. Now, whether or not that was enough to carry the whole show, that's gonna be enough for me. There's plenty to like, I just think there's infinitely more to dislike. And I think a big part of that is, again, how wishy-washy it all gets with its own premise. The hero sentencing feels so raw and dirty on the surface, but the moment you dig deeper, nothing. One moment it goes, look, they're terrible criminals, and the next, wait, they're only kind of terrible because it's funny. They were set up by the church. And then finally, look at how oppressed they are, look at how just freely they roam the streets, and how they eat next to the holy knights. Huh? Are they good, bad, oppressed, adored? Who the fuck knows? The hero sentence then becomes this glorified draft. You even learn that some dude volunteered to do the sentence all on his own. At some point, it just circles back around to heroism in the most traditional sense of the word. John Goodguy and co. all turn out to be really good people with really tight morals and really silly quirks. That's what we're calling stealing now. A quirk. And in case there was ever any doubt who to root for, the church turns out to be really evil instead of just evil. There is no subversion. I hate this show. If you disagree with that, cool. I have more videos you can disagree with. Seriously, I would rather you go watch those. This one was a little messy. But yeah, that's about it. I'm back. I'm still alive. New videos incoming. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.